Alright, so as promised, every month I'm going to be checking in with you guys and letting you know how our debt payoff is going and how our net worth is growing, not only by paying off debt, but also just in the value of certain things increasing as well. So this month, we're basically going to be touching on the month of October. I am going to show the net worth progress for September and October, but basically we were able to pay off $1,283.91 worth of debt for the month of October, and our net worth actually increased by over $3,000. So even though we only paid an extra 1,200 something, our net worth went up more. So if you're interested in seeing where we paid off the debt and how our net worth increased, then let's jump into it. We're going to go on the Excel sheet and I'm going to show you the nitty gritty, and then we are going to color in our first squares on our little debt payoff charts here. Alright, so if you guys joined me last month, I shared this with you. It's just a very simple net worth tracker that I'm using. So you take your assets minus the liability that you have on it, and that is your net worth. So for our family, we basically have our home, our truck, a car, our savings account, my husband's 401k, my 401k, and my Roth IRA and my Robinhood account. So we basically have 8 different things that we're kind of calculating, and 3 of those things have debt associated with them: the car, the truck, and the home. So our goal is to pay off all of our debt 100%, even the home included. So as we are basically at the beginning of October, we started off with $197,182 worth of debt. That's everything combined, even our home. And so our goal is to smash it and get it out of our hair in the next 5 years. So we'll see if we can make that progress. So real quick, I'm going to share with you what changes we had in our net worth calculations. Last time I shared with you what everything looked like at the end of August. So this month I have the end of September and October to share with you. So the first thing we're going to start with is our home. We originally purchased our home in 2018, around the summer of 2018, but we refinanced it this year in April. So we were able to lower our interest rate. We almost cut our interest rate in half, and we cut our loan term from a 30-year to a 20-year. So that drastically is going to make the biggest difference for us paying off our home early. But basically when we refinanced, we did have an appraisal, so it appraised at 186. And then now that we're kind of, several months have passed, now we're just going back to looking at the Zillow value. So obviously this is not the exact value, but we're going to go off of the Zillow value up until the point when maybe we have a professional appraisal again. So when we jumped into September, the value did drop. It went from 193,000 to 190,000, so it dropped by about $3,000. We still made our minimum payment along with $200 extra principal payment, but that month we basically, we lost some equity because the value of the home dropped. In October, it creeped back up to 192,568. It's still not as high as it was in August at the 193, but it's still, it's holding steady. We purchased our home for $165,000 is what we purchased it for, and basically $5,000 down payment is if you want to look at it that way. I think that's pretty darn good. So we currently owe, at the end of October, we owe $156,709.45. So we have positive equity in our home of $35,858. Now, we did not take any money out when we refinanced, so this is what's allowing us to still keep that equity. Some people, if they were refinancing, they might have taken out, that $26,000 equity if, say, they had some major projects or things that they needed to do. For instance, my friends just refinanced their house because they had to have their whole roof replaced, and it was not cheap. So that is one instance where you might want to take money out. We didn't have to do that, so we did not take any money out of the refinance. But basically from September to October, the equity, if you will, in our home increased by $2,977, so this is great. I'm going to go ahead and jump on are, because we're talking about the house, let's go ahead and jump on the amortization schedule real quick, and I'll show you how things actually broke down. So in September, you can see that we paid $427 worth of interest towards the loan. We paid $479 towards the principal, and we paid an extra $200. So we actually paid off, you know, $679 worth of principal in September. And last month in October, you can see the amount that's being put towards principal is gradually going up. So we paid $481.78 with the additional $200 in October. So if I were to pull up this is our one here for our house. Let's take a look. So we said we paid $481.78, $200. So we paid $681. Now on here, each little square is worth $1,574. Basically, I took how much we owed, the $157,392, at the time of that I started this sheet, and we have 100 squares, so I divided it by 100 to come up with how much I get. Like a half a square is going to be like what we paid off. So I'm going to color in real quick my half a square. And that's not going to be an exact science, but that's just, you know, we're making progress. And I think what I'm going to do is each month I'm going to do a different color, and so I can see on certain months if I paid more or less. So hopefully you guys can see that. Our first progress, yay! All right, let's jump back in. All right, so that's great. Now comes the truck. So we're just kind of using the Kelley Blue Book value. We're gonna keep the Kelley Blue Book value amount for the rest of the year, and then next year, like every quarter, we'll log on there and see how it changes. So I'm just keeping these orange, just showing that there was no change in the value of the truck from one month to the next. And then again, we made our minimum payment. So our minimum payment for the truck is $369. And you can see here the change from one month to the next is only $258. So that's how much interest and how much principal was paid. So we'll talk about that here in a minute. So basically, this one though, because we show that there was no change in the value of the truck, but we still paid, these are showing green, showing that we are making progress. So we're basically leaving off at the end of October still owing $17,401. And so if I have Ricky's truck here, we started this at $17,665 or $66 from last month. So we want to go ahead and see, let's look at the amortization for the truck and see how that breaks down. So you can see here for September, we paid our minimum payment of $369.83. 116 went to interest, $253.30 went towards the principal, the balance of the loan. And then October, things are slightly we paid a little less interest, and again a little bit more went towards that balance. So $258 is what went to it. So if I look on this one, I took our $17,660, divided it by the 100. So each square for this sheet is going to be about 176. So we we paid off 258. So basically we're going to say 1.5 square is the progress we made on this one. So we're going to go ahead and color that in. It's cool to see that, a little bit of progress. So I have these Excel sheets as well. I'm going to be trying to get a lot of updated sheets up on my Etsy store before the end of the year. So keep an eye out for these amortization schedules. This way you can plug in your numbers as well. So as far as how we plan on trying to pay this off, you can see here coming up next year for 2021, we're going to be really plugging in a lot of extra money at the principal of this loan, trying to pay it off by September, October of next year. So there's that one. Let's go ahead and head back. Okay, so basically, like I mentioned, we paid off $258 from one month to the next month. So the next one we have here is my car. So we're kind of doing the same thing, just going off of the Kelley Blue Book value. And we're just making our minimum payment on the car, which is about $450. So we'll go over that in more detail. But basically, we're showing here in the green because, again, we didn't show the value change, and so we're slowly paying off some extra money there. So from September to October, we paid off $343.47 towards the loan. So let's go ahead and look at our amortization for that. So again, you can see here we paid $449.73, $111.48 went to interest, and $338 went towards the principal, the balance of the loan for September. And then October, we paid $106 worth of interest, and $343 went towards the principal, or the balance of the loan. So we currently owe $21,794 on the car. And so I had this from last month showing that we owed the $22,133 or 38. And I have on here again how much we owe divided by 100. Each square is worth $221. So again, we're looking at about 1.5 square to show our progress on this one. Now moving into next year, we're going to be really tackling the truck, but we're also going to be adding a minimum of 100 extra on the car at the same time. And that's really just so we can keep up with what we owe versus the value of it, because we don't want to owe more than it's worth. So we're just going to be paying that extra $100 to kind of keep up with that. You can see that here. Once the truck is paid off, then you'll see we'll be, putting in some extra money towards the car to try to pay that off. Hopefully within, maybe another 6 months, once the car's paid off, maybe take only 6 more months to pay off the car. So we'll have to see how that works. Now coming into the things that don't have debt associated with it, and that is our savings account. So from August to September, we actually added a little bit to savings. We had it up to $11,034. And then this month, you can see we actually took out $53.95. So we actually spent more than that out of our girls' savings. They each had $500 in savings, and that was from the stimulus check that we all got. And so we actually did some back to school clothes shopping, so they each spent about $120 or so. So even though this, you'd think, we would have about $240 negative, we still put money back into savings. So we only actually ended up taking out about $53 versus the $240. But that's basically where we're at right now, ending out the month of October. We have about $10,980 in the savings, and this is just a combination of our emergency fund, like I mentioned, the girls' savings, as well as vacation savings. We kind of just have all of that, but this is cash that's available to us if we need it. We can always skip on the vacation, cancel the vacation, or do what we need to do if something were to come up. Ricky's 401k, you can see here he was in the green for the last 2 months, which he actually lost. Our investments did go down, but because we were still putting money into it, we were able to kind of not lose too much money. So at the end of October, we had about $15,333 in his 401k. So basically, we increased his 401k by $279. Like I mentioned, we actually put more than that in there, but the market went down a little bit, so it kind of messed up there. And that's what you're going to see here in my Roth IRA. I have stopped doing contributions to my Roth IRA currently, because now that $50 I was putting into my Roth is now going into my Roth 401k. And the reason I'm doing that is just because Amazon is going to match me 50% on what I'm putting in there. And so why not get the free money? It's $50 I was going to do either way. So you can see here it went down 2 months in a row. So now I have $406 in my Roth IRA, and that's down $49 from September. Now, October was when I just opened up my Roth 401k with Amazon, so I currently have $28.48 in there. And then my Robinhood account, I'm not adding anything to that as well, so you can see I had the 2 months in a row where I've lost money. Like I mentioned, the whole market in general, 2 months in a row has lost money. The only reason Ricky's didn't lose money again is because we put more in than what was lost. But basically, I lost, $5.42. I'm at $170.80 in my Robinhood account. Overall, though, our net worth is positive 6,000 or $66,995.98. So this is great, you guys. You can see, we started off the year with a net worth of 43,000, so we're jumped up a good amount, and then just in 1 month our net worth increased by $3,778.70. So like I mentioned, we paid off $1,283 worth of debt, but because we had some things that we still saved some money, and we had the value of the house kind of jump up again, that's really what helped our net worth grow from last month. So we colored off the car and the truck and the house, and then I have our overall debt here. So like I mentioned, our overall debt starting off at the beginning of October was $197,183, and again I divided it between the hundreds, so each square's 1,971. So we paid off $1,283, about half a square, a little less or a little more than half, but we're just going to do half a square just to make it easier. We'll just do these in half a squares and squares. Baby steps, right? Yeah, so we're making progress. We're kind of just making minimum payments right now, but we are doing the extra $200 towards the principal of the mortgage. But next year is really where we're going to start seeing some good chunks taken off, because we're hoping to be able to pay off an extra, $2,000 a month almost between, me working and Ricky's overtime. So we'll kind of see how that plays out. But basically, not a bad month. Our net worth still went up, even though some of the investments went down. We're still, we're making progress, small progress, but we're making progress. So join me every month and we'll see how we're doing. I'd love to hear from you. How are you doing on your debt payoff journey? As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.